Renowned chef Anna Haugh hails from Tala in Dublin. Now, she learned her skills in top establishments before realising her vision of opening her own restaurant, Myrtle, at 1A Langdon Street, Chelsea. The contact number there is 020 7352 2411. Anna has become a familiar face, appearing at food festivals and as a TV favourite on the remake of Ready Steady Cook, on Sunday Kitchen and Sunday Brunch. Now, to tell us about her background and success, I'm delighted to welcome Anna Haugh. Anna, a very good afternoon to you.
Hiya, Jerry. It's lovely to be talking to you today.
Anna, I believe your determination to make it to the top in the culinary world may well be attributed to coming from a line of strong women. Tell us a little about your granny, a very capable shopkeeper in Ringsend, on her ability.
Yeah, that's right. My granny, Annie Haugh, she had a small kind of shop that sold an array of different kind of items. It was a little bit like a mini supermarket, and there was two shops in the family, but she was the person who was responsible for the buying. And when my father was younger, he used to go and help my granny pick up the items, and he never understood. He thought, like, why doesn't my uncle do this job? But when I listen to the stories he tells me of my grandmother, she loves it. She was well able to look at items and bargain with the wholesalers and basically break them until they gave her the price that she wanted for the goods. So, I think she really enjoyed it.
Excellent, that really is impressive. Now, your mother raised 4 children alongside returning to further education, a decision your father was right behind. So, like yourself, she could keep a lot of balls in the air, so to speak.
Yeah, well, my dad was extremely proud of my mother when she went back to study, and I'm trying to think of how old I was when it was happening. But my mother would do her homework and her studies on the kitchen table, and children, you're used to your mother being waiting on you hand and foot. So when she'd be doing her studying, you'd kind of just be pottering around, and my father used to stand in front of the kitchen door, going, "Get out, away." And we'd be like, "Oh, I want to pee, I want a cup of water." My dad would be like, "No, you're not, your mommy's studying, like, go away." And we were like, "This isn't fair." But like, I loved that my dad put his foot down, like, and he really kind of took care of her and made sure that because it was, my mother would have left school when she was maybe 13. So it was a really big thing for her to go back to do. So it was great that she had his support.
That is excellent. Now, your family were adventurous, enjoying European travel and sampling new dishes on holiday and at home.
Yeah. I mean, it's hilarious. Like, you would open our fridge and you would find jars of octopus and, mussels and different kind of bits and pieces that, we would always have an array of different vinegars and oils. And, if I saw a vegetable in the supermarket or a fruit, I would ask my mother if she would buy it. And it was always Super Quinn back in the day used to always have really exciting, unique kind of vegetables or fruits, and they used to have an explanation about them. So I really enjoyed that as a kid. And my parents were quite open to it. They were still quite frugal, like they weren't wasteful about it. So, you could have an octopus and tomato salad and you'd just get on with it. But it was delicious. Like, we'd lovely food in the house. But my friends obviously thought it was all mental. They were like, "Where's the Galty cheese singles?"
Yes. Now, the family life sounds busy, so your parents must have been pleased that you enjoyed putting a Sunday roast on the table even from a young age.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think my mother was super relieved. So she taught all of us to cook from a very young age. I think because she didn't probably want to cook. So all of us were well able to kind of cook from a young age. But then my father, he loves cooking. But my mother has a real natural talent for cooking. And I think that's why she was good at teaching us. So I could have been 12 when I would have been cooking a full roast from scratch, all by myself, except for I always had to get my mother, she would just double check to make sure the meat was ready. That was the only thing she would always check before we would serve up. But yeah, like, I was proud. Like, when I see a 12-year-old now, I'm like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't let them near an oven.
Yes, indeed. Now, that definitely was a good foundation for the world of work. Where did you learn your skills? Can you tell us more about your mentors?
Well, I started off in Colbrew Street. That was where I kind of did my, I got my papers. And then I did my apprenticeship in Le Crevin underneath Derry Clark and Sally Ann Clark. And that was incredible. Like, I mean, what an amazing restaurant to start off in. Like, to start off in a restaurant that, is such high caliber, and also was such a family run restaurant. So you really got to learn what the business was about, because it was a single owned business. It wasn't like a chain. And it was a really exciting time. While I worked there, they won a Michelin star, and that was a real big learning curve and a day I'll never remember for the rest of my life. And then after that, I worked for Gualtiero Marchesi. He's a very famous Italian chef, ironically in Paris. I worked in Paris for him. And then I worked for Shane Osborne in a restaurant called Pied à Terre, which had a really big impact on me as a chef, and Philip Howard, and then Gordon Ramsay. So I was very lucky that I worked for people who really believed in what they were doing. It wasn't about somebody telling them what to do. They were very much a driving force. And that's what I thought the chefs should be, that, these were the chefs I was working for. They were driving forces. So, it made sense that eventually I would open up my own restaurant.
Indeed. Well done on it all. Now, you carved out a good career path. Female chefs, such as yourself and Claire Smith from Antrim, enjoy an excellent reputation in London now. But when you first arrived, not so many had actually blazed that trail, Anna.
Well, it breaks my heart when I think about it, because the women were there. They were cooking in the kitchens, but nobody was talking about them. Nobody remembered their names. For some reason, they weren't given an opportunity. Like, when I came to London, Claire Smith would have been, at the beginning of her leading a 3 Michelin star restaurant. And nobody spoke about her. Like, it seems insane that there could be, such an incredibly talented chef, and nobody would know her name for many, many years after I lived in London. I hadn't heard of her. But yeah, I'm very happy to say that, that's changing slowly, but it's still changing. And that's the main thing, that hopefully, there's more new faces and new women for us all to kind of meet and learn, as there will be new men, not trying to silence the boys. But it's great to hear other women coming up.
Indeed. Now, opening Myrtle is clearly the culmination of your efforts. How did you come up with the name?
Well, I had so many names, and because I'm Irish, I would pronounce things slightly differently. So there was lots of names that I would try. My boyfriend is from the UK, so I would. One of the restaurant names was actually Bia. I wanted to call it, and he kept calling it Bia, and I was like, "Why are you? It's Bia." And he was like, "Okay, I've got it." And then he'd go Bia, and I'm like, "Okay, I can't call it Bia, because obviously Bia means food," which I thought was a quite nice, clean, simple name. And then another one was The Good Table, which I thought was a great name, but nobody could remember it. And because I was such a really big fan of the beautiful produce that we have in Ireland, and I'm very proud that we have produce that is, some of our produce is better than any other versions you'll find around the world. And I thought I wanted to kind of talk about that in the name. And what better name to call it than Myrtle Allen, the woman who flew the flag of praising our produce in a way that, French chefs spoke about their produce. And so I thought it was a good name.
Indeed. So I was just going to actually say Myrtle Allen, of course, she was originally from Cork, from Tivoli in Cork. She was at the Writer Hotelier and a teacher, as well as having the award-winning culinary career. I can understand your admiration for her, indeed. Now, you've very much put your own stamp on the Myrtle restaurant. Describe your labour of love fitting out the unique interior. What are the features that you'd see on a visit?
Well, I think it's very clear to say that I fluked it, because to design a restaurant is not easy. I don't know how I've managed. Well, actually, I do know how I managed to make it look nice. I had really good builders, good Irish builders that helped me and talked me through it all the way. But you'll find different little Irish notes through the restaurant. I have some sketches on the wall done by Simon O'Moore Donoghue. He's an artist from Dublin. And I have old kind of lampshades that came from a convent that closed down in Derry, and I have some other kind of metalwork from there as well. Things like Galway crystal for our champagne goblets, and I currently have some plates being made in Ireland as well. So I'll have some nice Irish pottery on the table. There's other things as well. We've got I've got lovely quote upstairs by Oscar Wilde, and an old vintage poster, which is huge. It's a big blown up vintage poster from an old Irish airline and stuff. But it is a really simple decor. When you walk in, you don't immediately go Irish, and this is what I wanted. I wanted even the food. When you look at the food, you don't immediately go Irish. I wanted it to feel like a kind of modern but refined and simple kind of Irish restaurant.
Right, that definitely sounds very inviting. You've got a strong team. Who's on board with you?
Well, my cousin Daniel Haugh is the manager, and he is brilliant. He has just got the exact same work ethic every single restaurant owner wants, which is to work hard is not hard. And then I have some really, I've got Damien on the floor, who's also wonderful. And then I've a couple of chefs downstairs, some girls, and one poor guy rattling around the kitchen while all the women terrorise him. And that's Pavel. He's worked with me for a good few years. He's worked with me in other restaurants as well. He came along, and I was very lucky to have that kind of support. So it's not a big team, but it's the quality of work that they do is phenomenal. Like the idea that since we've opened, every few months we make it a little bit harder. We try to make it a bit better. We refine it each few months again and again, and they never complain. They're always like excited for like the next challenge. Like it's amazing. I feel blessed to have the team that I have.
Anna, well done on all your hard work. Now, you devised a business plan and budget and went for it. Now, everyone is aware that the hospitality industry is extremely hard work. Would you say your true Dublin grit has helped you to power through it, so to speak?
I absolutely. I cannot agree with you more. It is all about grit and sticking to your guns and really understanding that although when you come to the restaurant, it's about kind of, enjoyment and frivolity and relaxing, and it's behind the scenes, it's all about graft. It's all about questioning yourself and re-evaluating, recalculating, questioning, is this right? Should I do that? How did I do that? Could I do it better? I did try to open up the restaurant quite a few years ago, and I just couldn't get a site. And it really broke me. I nearly signed on a lease, and then one day the landlord turned around and he said, "Oh, I think I'm going to keep it." And it really broke me, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. And really, what I needed was just to take a break and then go back at it again. But instead, I kind of gave it up and went back working for a few years, and then eventually the bug came back again. And then this time, I was like, no, nobody will convince me to not do this. It is pure grit. I knew that I had to do this. This was like it sounds very dramatic, like a destiny, but this was going to be part of my life, or else I would regret it.
Now, you've been quoted as saying that you want to be supportive of your staff, as you're aware that the hours are long and the work repetitive. Mm.
Well, I do my best to take care of my staff genuinely, as in, when we have a long day, and make sure they get breaks. When I worked in restaurants originally, we had set hours. That was it. It didn't matter what way the numbers fluctuated in the job. You started at this time, there was no breaks, and you finished at that time. And if you missed your night bus, well, that was just tough luck. So I don't have that approach. My staff eat well. I take great pride that they enjoy their meals, that they can sit down, that they can have breaks. If any of them ever, need to take time off or need to, make an appointment, there is no fear in the kitchen. It's very much like we adapt. They move and adapt to this job, so I move and adapt to them. And I really genuinely think I'm building these brilliant leaders. Like, I'm looking at these people in front of me, and I want them to go as far as that they can go. And the happier they are in their job, the more that they will grow.
Indeed. Now, Gordon Ramsay is an incredibly huge name for television. Now, he selected you to appear as a judge in the US version of Hell's Kitchen. This suggests a mutual respect for one another.
I think if you know what you're talking about, and you don't, you don't over egg who you are. If you really are honest with Gordon Ramsay, he'll respect you. If you say you can do something and you can't do it, he'll have no time for you. I think he's very much a quite straight down the line type of chef. And also he's very good at reading people. He's very good at seeing when somebody is, not being honest. So yeah, I got on very well with him. I enjoyed working for the company. It was extremely challenging, but that's the kind of environment I always wanted to be in. I always wanted to be pushed and to be made stronger. And when they asked me to be a judge in a Hell's Kitchen, I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, it was unbelievable. I went to this huge mansion in Bel Air, and there was all of these people around. It was it was a huge affair for me. And I was around amazing, incredible chefs, and I couldn't believe that I was asked to be a judge. I mean, I still feel very kind of blessed to have been a judge on it. And the food was fantastic that they cooked.
Excellent. Now, with 20 years of knowledge under your belt and being recognised by your peers as a high achiever, you're definitely to be congratulated on it. Now, you're also a keynote speaker at seminars, and you won the Best International Chef accolade at the 2019 Food and Wine Awards. Did you use lockdown to add to options available on your menus?
I mean, to stay sane, I had to constantly be thinking about what I was going to do with the restaurant. So when we reopened the restaurant, it was all the work that I did during the lockdown that kind of made it kind of go more fluid. I'm sorry, not just myself, Daniel as well. The two of us were always plotting and planning during the lockdown of what we would do when it would reopen. So when we reopened, we came up with this kind of concept of a kind of taste of Ireland, or a journey around Ireland. So we have like a tasting menu now on the as one of the options, where there's different dishes and they're from different counties in Ireland, and that will change through the year. So different counties will be taken off and other ones will be added. But yeah, and a lot of effort went into trying to source the kind of the dishes that they would come from, and how we would logistically be able to do a more complicated service, and even some of the technically some of the dishes that are now on the menu are more difficult. So yeah, like during the lockdown, if I hadn't have had that opportunity, I don't know if I would have been able to have done it so quickly.
All positive stuff. Now, eating out is an experience, and we're pleased to be able to do so again after the closures and the complete lockdown. Now, menus are an all-important factor. Your approach focuses on good seasonal produce, Irish staples. Give us an insight into what you offer at Myrtle and particular signature dishes.
So we have a thing called a bia biog, which every guest gets when they come to the restaurant, and it's a kind of potato inspired. I guess it's like the equivalent of an amuse bouche when you would go to a fine dining restaurant. It's like a little dish that kind of awakens your appetite. So it should be super delicious, small enough that it won't destroy your appetite, but big enough so that like you have a few mouthfuls and you can kind of enjoy it. So we call it a bia biog. It changes through the year, and at the moment we have it. It's like a really silky potato puree, and we have these beautiful smoked garlic from Taylors of Lusk in Ireland, a garlic farm. They also do chilies, and it's so beautiful. The garlic is incredible. Like, it's the making of the dish. And then we have the potato skins that we bake the potatoes, we scoop out the flesh, we make a puree with that and the garlic, and then we chop up the skins, we toast them with a little bit of a kind of a delicious kind of lemon oil, and then we top it with some Irish seaweed, and then a little kind of garlic flour, and it's such a beautiful. It's so simple, but you start the meal, I think, with a little window into what the menu will be like as you follow on. And then we've different things like we've dingle pie on with Irish lamb, which is really beautiful. It's like a traditional pie that you get in County Kerry. I mean, some people call it a Kerry pie, some people call it a dingle pie. It's like a lamb-based pie made with kind of like a lamb suet pastry. It's really delicious. I'm not actually that good at talking about. Surprisingly, I'm not good at talking about food. My only real talent is cooking. So that's the best way for me to talk is through my hands and through the food.
It sounds good, honestly, Anna. Now, the reviews for Myrtle are excellent. You're on the map, and it's the sum of the parts that make the restaurant the success that it is. Great food with Irish influences, the decor, a relaxed atmosphere, a warm welcome. Myrtle Restaurant is at 1A Langdon Street, Chelsea, Southwest 10 0JL, if you want to put it in your sat-nav or Google Maps. Telephone 020 7352 2411. The website is myrtlerestaurant.com. Anna, it's been a real pleasure speaking to you. I know you'll build on your excellent venture, Myrtle Restaurant.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been wonderful chatting to you today.